Welcome to Slaughterhouse Stories. I hope you enjoy the stories I have for you tonight. Hello to all you things that go bump in the night. Hello to all you humans as well. Welcome to the show that brings you creepypastas, short scary stories, and dark horror-themed poetry from all across the world. This is the Slaughterhouse Stories Podcast, episode 43, Halloween Horror. I'm your host and narrator, Ghost Train, telling you to lock your doors, get under your blanket, and keep the lights on. You can find the links to all my socials in the show notes. Come, discuss all things spooky with me. Also, if you'd like to write in and have your email read on the show, email slaughterhousestoriespodcast@gmail.com with creepypasta requests, stories you've written, or your own real-life paranormal encounters. Before we get to tonight's first story, I'd like to ask you a favor. If you're enjoying the show, please head over and leave a review through iTunes and help spread the word to your friends, family, the masked killer stalking you with a knife. Whomever, tell them, be a listener, not a victim. Now, let's get spooky. To start things off tonight is a well-known creepypasta, and the first I ever recorded on the Slaughterhouse Stories YouTube channel. Go subscribe. About a schoolboy who finds a mysterious photograph and begins to obsess over it, asking people about it. Does he ever have his questions answered? Does he ever find out who was photographed? Settle in, lean back, and find out as you listen to The Girl in the Photograph. One school day, a boy named Tom was sitting in class and doing math. It was 6 more minutes until after school. As he was doing his homework, something caught his eye. His desk was next to the window, and he turned and looked to the grass outside. It looked like a picture. When school was over, he ran to the spot where he saw it. He ran fast so that no one else could grab it. He picked it up and smiled. It had a picture of the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. She had a dress with tights on and red shoes, and her hand was formed into a peace sign. She was so beautiful he wanted to meet her, so he ran all over the school and asked everyone if they knew her or have ever seen her before. But everyone he asked said no. He was devastated. When he was home, he asked his older sister if she knew the girl, but unfortunately, she also said no. It was very late, so Tom walked up the stairs, placed the picture on his bedside table, and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, Tom was awakened by a tap on his window. It was like a nail tapping. He got scared. After the tapping, he heard a giggle. He saw a shadow near his window. So he got out of his bed, walked towards his window, opened it, and followed the giggling. By the time he reached it, it was gone. The next day, again he asked his neighbors if they knew her. Everybody said, sorry, no. When his mother came home, he even asked her if she knew her. She said no. He went to his room, placed the picture on his desk, and fell asleep. Once again, he was awakened by a tapping. He took the picture and followed the giggling. He walked across the road, when suddenly, he got hit by a car. He was dead, with the picture in his hand. The driver got out of the car and tried to help him, but it was too late. Suddenly, he saw the picture and picked it up. He saw a cute girl holding up 3 fingers. Well, humans, I'm certainly curious how many fingers she'd be holding up at this point. What happens when she gets to 11 victims? Does she show her toes? Weird. Anyway, how about we avoid talking about feet, and let's move things to the next story of the night. This one about a man who's trying his best to be very quiet in the basement when a noise upstairs frightens him. Unsure who is lurking up there, he makes the decision to ready himself in case he has to fight for his life. Let's find out how things go for him while you hide under your blanket and enjoy Beautiful. It's quiet in a dark, damp basement. The walls are covered in dancing lights, wonderful hues of blue and white. The television is on. The sound down low is to not wake anyone. I'm sitting on the couch, a tattered, ugly green object that has been lost to time. It smells faintly of mold, and a few small rodents scurried out from underneath it when I sat down. One of the 2 people are talking, dancing. It appears to be a recording of a wedding, perhaps for a family friend. The picture is low quality, very fuzzy. The tape is no doubt old. It was in the machine when I turned the television on. I stare, transfixed. The people, despite the horrible picture, are wonderful looking, beautiful even. Beautiful, I whisper, smiling. A noise upstairs, the sound of someone walking down the stairs, makes me jump, and I stand quickly and quietly, slowing my breathing, even though I know they can't hear me. With one hand, I shut off the television, and now, every inhale and exhale sounds exactly as a loud fan blowing air directly into one's ear. I creep to the bottom of the stairs, still alarmed. I'm not supposed to be down here, and it's late. Perhaps the family heard me, or it's an intruder. This new thought strikes terror into my heart, and the pumping and thudding in my ears grows louder as my pulse races. My breathing quickens, despite all my attempts to be quiet, and I know if they were to open the door up there, they would hear me, and my cover would be blown. Almost panicking and ready to bolt, I step on the lowest stair and begin to climb, praying that none of them creaks. I'm almost to the top when one of them does. A creak so loud that it surely woke half the block, let alone anyone in the house. I hear shuffling on the other side of the door, padded feet scurrying about through the room. A female voice calls out, calling for a man, or perhaps a boy. It does not matter. The name is not mine. I freeze where I stand, raising my hand to strike if the door opens. Slowly but surely it creeps open, keeps opening, and the woman on the other side is not scared yet. She's not screaming yet, and I understand that the shadows are hiding me from sight. But then, she flicks a switch for the stairway light, and I attack, swinging my hand towards her face as hard as I can. Her eyes go wide, and her mouth opens in a surprised O shape a split second before her head goes flying, and her body crumples to the ground, blood pumping out of her neck and flowing across the floor, and pooling at my feet. In my panicked state, I hit her so hard that I decapitated her. That coppery smell fills my nose, and my heart rate becomes steady. There is not a single sound in the house, not even a mouse. I step into the room and flip the switch for the light, closing the door behind me, once again submerged in complete darkness. I reach down and run my fingers through her very long brown hair, picking up her head and raising it to eye level. Smiling, I run my long, wet tongue over her cheek, tasting her sweet white flesh. I nibble at her parted lips with my sharp teeth, savoring her. Beautiful, I croak. So beautiful. I wonder who else is upstairs. I wonder who else was there, upstairs waiting for a friend to do the same thing to them. I wonder how many houses he's visited since. Have they all been beautiful? I know it doesn't matter how many houses he's seen. I know I'm on his side. But anyway, while you put a chair and a deadbolt on your basement door, let me give you this week's recommendation. This week I have a book for you. Norman Partridge's Dark Harvest, winner of the Bram Stoker Award. Taking place in the 1960s, the teenagers in a little American town roam the streets every Halloween night, hoping to find and kill the October Boy, a pumpkin-headed scarecrow that comes alive on that day. The winner gets the prize and leaves town, never to be seen again. Or maybe not. As we get closer and closer to Halloween, this is just the kind of book you need to get yourself into that spooky Halloween spirit. So go wherever you get your books from and enjoy Dark Harvest by Norman Partridge. And now that I've given you this week's recommendation, let's take a trip down to open mic night at Beelze Pub. Welcome, fiends, to open mic night at Beelze Pub, where we invite you to sit right here and go into the more poetic side of fear. Poems of murder, creatures, and ghosts. All the things that scare you the most. Tonight at the pub, we start with the lyrics to a song from an opera known as Ruddigore, or The Witch's Curse. And to end the night, a poem by Audrey Uwo about a knock that wakes someone at 4 a.m. and the fear one feels listening to that knock. The closer to the door you get, the more you're afraid. Allow the rhymes to transport you to terror, and enjoy When the Night Wind Howls and There Was a Knock at the Door. When the night wind howls, and the chimney cowls, and the bat in the moonlight flies, and the inky clouds, like funeral shrouds, sail over the midnight skies. When the footpads quail at the nightbird's wail, and black dogs bay at the moon, then is the spectre's holiday, then is the ghost's high noon.
Ha, ha. Then is the ghost's high noon.
As the sob of the breeze sweeps over the trees, and the mists lie low on the fen, from gray tombstones are gathered the bones that once were women and men. And away they go, with a mop and a mow, to the revel that ends too soon. For cockcrow limits our holiday, the dead of the night's high noon.
Ha, ha. The dead of the night's high noon.
And then each ghost, with his lady eye toast, to their churchyard beds take flight, with a kiss, perhaps, on her lantern chaps, and a grisly grim
good night.
Till the welcome knell of the midnight bell rings forth its jolliest tune, and ushers in our next holiday, the dead of the night's high noon.
Ha, ha. The dead of the night's high noon.
There was a knock at the door, and 4 a.m. it brought me out of my slumber. Curious about who it could be at this hour, I exited my bedroom and started making my way to the stairs. It was then that a chill went up my spine, waking nightmares standing dancing on the top of my head. I thought about ghouls, I thought about ghosts, I thought about things that go bump in the night. The floorboards creaked underneath my feet. The pounding of the door became violent. I thought about the wave of missing person reports in my city. Children, now without parents, vanished from the face of the earth. I began descending down the stairs. The knocking became more and more aggressive. I thought about the at-large serial killer in my city, the letters they wrote to the press, promising that more will die. I stood in front of my door. I thought about life. I unlocked the door. I thought about death. I turned the knob. I thought about what it must be like to sleep forever. I opened the door. There stood my neighbor. I'd accidentally blocked his driveway with my car. I apologized and moved it. After all was said and done, I sat on my sofa to catch my breath. It was then I heard an inhuman screech from across the hall. Silence fell, but was soon ended by another sound. There was a knock at the basement door. All spooky things love the howl of the night and the fear it induces in you humans. That's just facts. And imagine having your fear relieved because it was just a neighbor at your door. But then, you settle in, and someone knocks on the basement door. So much for safety. Enjoy being another number for our knocking serial killer. No, killer sounds bad. How about serial hugger? Yeah, he just wants to give you hugs. Honest. So while you wait for your hug, let's finish our drinks, leave the pub behind, and move into the last feature of the night. Once again, this is Halloween Horror. For our next Halloween-themed feature, we have a story with the same title as the feature. We have a terrifying story of a killer waiting for his chance to strike. Is there more to this than just bloodlust and murder? Will his would-be victims get away and have the happy ending that so many stories end with? I sure hope not. But let's find out together as you lock your doors again. Settle in, relax, and listen to Halloween Horror. Long ago on Halloween night, a masked killer roamed the desolate streets of a quiet Arizona suburb. In search of victims, his blade trembled in his hand as he hunted. The muffled breathing behind the latex clown mask was all that could be heard from him. His eyes raced from side to side as he watched countless children prance around in their colorful or spooky costumes, shouting with joy and excitement from the endless amount of sugar they would soon devour. Continuing down the street, he spotted a teenage couple preparing to enter a treehouse in a backyard. Making his way towards them, the couple was already safe inside. It wouldn't be long before they made their exit, and this man had nothing but patience, along with the urge to strike. As the couple made love in the treehouse, the silent figure leaned behind the tree and waited. Taking the blade against the bark, he carved something that read, "Hide all you want, I will find you." As he finished his crude writing, a groan could be heard from above, implying that the mail had finished. "Oh my God, that was amazing. I'm gonna go grab a beer. You want one?" he asked his lover before she smiled and nodded in approval. Slipping into his jeans, he blew her a kiss as he exited through the trapdoor in the floor of the wooden asylum. Silently whistling a tune, the man behind the tree reached out and clamped his hand fiercely around the young teen's throat and slammed his head against the rough bark. The teen struggled to break free before the bark was struck a second time with his skull. Blood sprayed against the killer's mask as the boy stopped breathing, his life ending through a final slam. The limp figure fell free from the grip and collapsed into the grass. Glaring down at the young boy, he felt no remorse for what he did. A thump from above refocused his attention to the girl still inside. He took hold of the crude planks nailed into the tree and used as a ladder and made his way inside. "Well, it took you long enough," she began to say as the creaking of the trapdoor echoed inside the small room. "Where's my—" She stopped suddenly as she turned over to see who was standing over her. She began to sob in fear as he exposed the blade. "I swear I have no idea where she is," she began. "You have to believe me. Please don't hurt me." Her cries of desperation had no effect on the killer as he made his way closer to her. She pushed herself away from him until she was in the far corner of the treehouse. Inching closer, the man sheathed the blade and reached down to help her up, as if sympathizing with her. Her tears began to slow as she looked him in the eyes, believing that he would not harm her. She smiled a bit before the man let out a muffled exhale of breath and forcefully grabbed her throat. The rubber of the gloves was all she could feel before he pushed her up against the wall and raised her higher, exposing the blade once more.